Hello everybody, welcome to a different kind of video. Yes, I'm making an actual theory video this time. Ignore the vast number of times I used the word theory in my last video, which I don't think was actually my last video because it was my thoughts video. It was just my thoughts on the game, with vague mentions of theories, which I will actually be going into in something that you might know as detail this time. Yes, very unusual for me to be putting a level of effort into anything. But are you ready for it? Good. I assume you said yes, because otherwise you'd have clicked off the video. So, first of all, I will be structuring this as some small theories. It's not one huge revelation that I think I've discovered, because I could never have ever hoped to come up with something like that. But if anything comes to mind while I'm writing this script, which yes, there is a script, I will mention it. You know how it is. And yeah, there is actually a script, as I have thought to. There was actually a script for this video, as I thought, maybe I should put a little bit of effort into this. Yeah, you like it? Good, because this is hopefully good. Anyway, let's move on to my first of the theories. Theory number 1, Node Way in Hell. And yes, I am giving these fun titles. No, these videos will not... What? No, these titles will not be hilarious to anyone other than me. Anyway, moving on. As you might have been able to pick up from the little pun in the title of the theory, this one revolves around the security nodes that we spend the entirety of the game trying to deactivate. Literally the whole game. I got very well acquainted with them and how they function, deactivate the child nodes in the form of random objects around the map. Fair enough. Then you deactivate the parent nodes and voila, you can progress to the next part of the game. Simple, easy, very straightforward, very consistent, right? So why in the name of Springtrap William Afton, who in the hell is he anyway, does the very last one that we supposedly deactivate function differently? And yes, that is indeed Roxy. Why is she different from the rest? Also, she's not just different from the rest of the nodes, she's different from the rest of the animatronics. For a start, parts of her that are missing are visible highlighted in green when you're using the mask. Okay, sure, that's interesting. None of the animatronics have that. Literally not one of them have anything like that where their missing parts are highlighted at all. Seems very strange to call out specifically for this one. Anyway, back to the thing. So, she doesn't function the same. There are no child nodes around her, and instead of our usual, floating holographic AR rabbit head, it's just you stick a Faz wrench into her eye socket and deactivate her. Or I think you might actually just end up rebooting her as opposed to deactivating her, because you do the exact same thing that you would Sun/Moon/Eclipse, where you stick the wrench into the little port for it and then do it. But also, I mean, it comes up with the little thing where you drag the thing across and it says it's part of the security network. So I mean, it's just more. This is more my opinion, but my point is that the whole game, the focus of the entire game, or DLC rather, is you're turning off these nodes, which are consistently one way, and then we get to one which breaks from that very consistent formula, in the form of everyone's favourite canine robot. Some for very concerning reasons, but we'll ignore that, don't mind. Personally, I'm not like that. I just, enjoy the fact that we got another friendly animatronic who got a cool redemption story in this DLC, and I appreciated that. It was just nice. But it tripped a few alarm bells in my mind that something is just not quite right there. If you wanted a little more evidence, then if you want a little more evidence, I would like to point your attention to the menu description of your objective in the lead up to this deactivating/rebooting Roxy, which says deactivate the final node, don't think. I don't quite remember if that is the exact noding. If that is the exact wording, I'll pull up a picture of it on screen. And it just seemed very strange. It just seems like very strange wording if Roxy is supposed to be a security node. Could it be worded like that? Because at this point it seemed very obvious that we're not going to find Gregory under the raceway. Yes. Could Roxy be a node and I'm just severely overthinking this? Very much so. This is just my theory. And I do not by any means have the full picture. I am by no means an actual theorist. I am literally just some random British guy making a video giving theories. Like, unlike some people on this platform, I have not been making theories on this game for 10 years. Pat. But yeah, no, I really don't know what I'm doing here. This is very new to me. I think I mentioned this in my thoughts video, but yeah, I don't really know what I'm doing as much as other people know what they're doing here. Also, if Roxy isn't a node, then why does the Mimic want her deactivated? I don't know. It might have something to do with the fact that she clearly has some connection with Cassie. Like, it's weird because she hears Cassie's voice and it's like, oh, okay, well, this is not the child I thought this was. I'm having problems computing here. And then she kind of gets this weird reset thing where she starts talking a lot more like Freddy does. And then, like, towards the end, she sort of starts talking the same as she did originally, but she's, like, protecting Cassie. She clearly is very protective of Cassie. It might just be because she knows that she is Cassie's favorite, and she just likes that because she likes the attention. But also, she seems to have a very different set of priorities than Security Breach. So I don't know. It could go either way, honestly. I can see it's... And again, like, when you plug the Phasma engine to an eye socket, it does come up with the screen for the security nodes. Although, I don't fully remember, so I might pull up, like, a comparison between the actual security nodes and then the Roxy one. But I can see it going either... I can see it going either way. I can see both sides of this being correct. Like, I can see Roxy being a node that makes sense, but, like, I can also see it not being accurate, if you can understand what I mean by that. But, you know, that's just like a little mini theory. Okay, theory number 2, and this one I will preface this by saying that this is more so 2 theories, but they're closely enough related that I thought I'd roll them into one. The little title I've got for this one is Cyber Scare from a Cyber Hair and To Mimic or Not to Mimic. Yes, these are all going to be little jokes that you probably don't like, but I do. So, back to the subject of the nodes, it turns out that what seemed to be our main antagonist, I've written this as protagonist, I've just realised that was a mistake, it's antagonist, everyone's favourite ghostly digital rabbit boy thing, it appears to actually be like a good guy. Yes, it's attacking the player, but only because we're trying to deactivate the security measures that it was designed to protect that keep the Mimic sealed down there. But, designed by who exactly? Some people, like Dorko, you know, a big YouTuber, some probably know him, he thinks that Mixer, who is the official name I'm giving this guy, since, you know, he's like the Mixer security program, he thinks it was designed by Vanessa and Gregory to keep the Mimic contained and disconnected from the network so that it can't get out. But there's a couple lines in the game, and this is all kind of circumstantial evidence. I don't know if you guys will agree with me here. It's a good chance you won't. This might just be me, but there's a few lines and parts of the game that don't completely track with that idea. Though I guess that entirely depends on who you think is talking. But, according to the game files, it looks like it is Gregory talking in the part that I'm referring to, but we'll get back to that in a minute. Oh wait, never mind, that's literally the thing I'm about to talk about. You know what, forget I said that. I wrote this script very long and forgot most of what I wrote, but it's fine, don't worry about it. If you remember in the final scene in the elevator, Gregory tells us... Gregory, you know, everyone's least favourite robot murdering psychopath child. He says that the Mimic has been trapped down here a really long time, but if Gregory's friends with Cassie and they're both like roughly the same age as he is in Security Breach, this can't have been that long after it happened, maybe like a couple months, maybe a year at most. Though that has its own set of complete inconsistencies and contradictions, considering the Pizzaplex looks like it has been literally closed for half a century. I mean, I've sincerely seen, like, condemned buildings that look in better shape than the Pizzaplex, and the animatronics are just a whole mess. They look terrible. It looks like it's been so long for them. Which, if the ending where you burn down the Pizzaplex and kind of destroy it isn't even like the canon ending from Security Breach, then this Pizzaplex just went from looking relatively clean to just completely falling apart. Though, in fairness, it looks like Fazbear started to demolish it, because there's like a wrecking ball coming through the roof, which is Fazbear Entertainment's like wrecking ball, so maybe they did start doing it and then they just stopped for some reason, I don't know. Anyway, back to the point. If, as I think, it hasn't been that long since Security Breach, despite all the weirdness of it, because, you know, Gregory sounds roughly the same, then I don't think him and Vanessa could have been the ones to trap it down there, although being trapped down there for like a couple months to even a year, that could probably seem like a really long time for it, but I don't know, this is talking from Gregory's perspective, so it might not be, so it might have actually been trapped down there a lot longer than if him and Vanessa were the ones who did it. But it sounds like it was trapped long before Gregory and Vanessa could have been there, or before they were there, so maybe they stumbled across it and realized that they needed to keep it secret, like they discovered it but they didn't let it out, or maybe they did let it out and they had to reseal it up. I don't know. Now, this next point, I can't be as certain about this because I don't have access to the books, the Tales from the Pizzaplex books, but I believe that there is one story that the Mimic was sealed down there in the FNAF 6 location, or I think it's actually below that, and I think that like the story was set like before the 2000s, so it may very possibly be actually when it was sealed down there, and this is just like, that's like supposed to be giving some lore details there, but you know, don't quote me on that, because again, I don't have access to the books, I'm not certain about that. But if I am remembering that right, then that would again suggest that it wasn't Gregory and Vanessa. But remember when I said when it depends on who you actually think is talking? Yeah, that's actually was important, as it turns out, as like there's a popular theory that the radio static, or maybe not even the radio static, but the static from the elevator loudspeaker was actually not Gregory anymore, it's the Mimic again. And like, the more I think about it, I can see that, but again, like the game file saying that those lines are spoken by actual Gregory, not the Mimic, does kind of like confirm that's not the case. But again, like there's a lot of there have been a lot of times when the source code for the game has details that people, like, it turns out kind of weren't canon. I can't remember exactly which ones, but I know that has happened at some point. But I am leaning more towards that being the Mimic, because it lures Cassie down there. Yeah, we know that, but why does it lure Cassie down there? I mean, I get it's like let it out, but what does it plan on doing with her after it's been let out? I don't think it's just gonna let her go. When it comes towards us, it reaches out to like grab us, which I suspect is probably to, you know, do the killing, because it's free now, it doesn't need us anymore. And some people have said like, oh, why would the Mimic lead her down there and then kill her? Because it doesn't, I think this is because it doesn't need her anymore, personally, but if someone proves me wrong, then okay, cool, so we've got like a little more certainty one way or the other. I don't mind. If I'm wrong, again, this is the first theory I've made, so I don't know what I'm doing. But I did also like try to think of points to contradict this, why it couldn't be the Mimic, and one of them is that the Mimic, if it was the Mimic, you'd be able to hear him talking as well as over the radio with Gregory's voice, or like over the like when he throws down the walkie-talkie. But he could have picked it up, because there's a very long scene where you're just standing there, not actually running away, despite Roxy going, "Cassie, please, for the love of God, get out of here," while she fights off the Mimic. But like, when you enter the room, you hear it talk over the radio briefly before it throws it down, but you don't actually hear it talking in the room, so I guess it could possibly have, like, you know, been talking over the radio, and because you can't actually hear it. My second thought is that the Mimic throws the radio down in front of us, which could possibly be Steel Ball's way of telling us that anything we hear from Gregory from that point onward is definitely Gregory. But again, there's that substantial length of time where the Mimic could have picked the radio up again, because we're just standing there listening to Gregory, so that could go either way, to be honest. But like, when I think about it, the fact that they included him throwing down the radio, like, I feel like that I'm starting to lean towards that might be Steel Ball trying to tell us that it's definitely Gregory from that point, so I will count that one in favor of Gregory. But also, from a narrative standpoint, I can see it making sense for it to be the Mimic. Like, it herds Cassie towards the elevator by misleading her as Gregory, perhaps, over the radio, telling her to go this way, that way, yada yada yada. Because that's a really easy, if it can't catch up to her, that's a very closed off environment where it would not have trouble catching up to her and taking her out. But also, but then again, like, how does it cut power to the elevator? Does it just have, like, access to all the systems to be able to do that? Because, again, if it's, like, free, if the Mixer's security program was, like, keeping it hidden, possibly keeping it from getting access to the systems, although it clearly has eyes around the place, and it clearly has the ability to observe us as Cassie, it might be able to do that now that the program is deactivated, possibly. If you can see where I'm coming from for that one. But anyway, like, once it's led her to the elevator, she's trapped there. There's nowhere else for her to go. So it would be a very, very easy way. It would be a very easy place for it to bring down the elevator, because she has no way to escape from that. There's no risk of her getting away. And actually, you know what? While I'm on the subject of the elevator, because I do, again, really want to talk about this. I don't know about it again, but I do really want to talk about this. It looks like it is pretty much confirmed that not only Cassie, but Roxy is also fine, as at the end of the credits, she's talking, like, at the end of the credits, you hear Roxy calling out Cassie's name, like she is, as if she is picking her out from the wreckage of the elevator, which gets massive thumbs up for me if that's the case. I really appreciate it. You might remember my video, but I got real mad when we deactivated Roxy, or rebooted her, because again, I feel like an animatronic that gets deactivated would stay deactivated, so to me it seems more likely that she just got rebooted, but I don't know exactly what it is about Roxy's redemption arc, but I loved it. I was genuinely really happy. I was so mad that they made me deactivate, but that little one line gave me hope that the pair of them will be seen again in future games. Hopefully they are. Hopefully we play as, like, either Cassie with Roxy's help, or maybe as Roxy protecting Cassie. I think that could be an interesting way to take it. Because instead of being the one defending yourself against the animatronics, you're the one defending someone else against the animatronics. That could be a really cool thing in a future game, a cool mechanic that they figure out some way to get. Which, for that, I guess they would have to, like, find a way for Cassie to fix Roxy, get her eyes back, maybe. Which, you know, if they do get out of there, they can probably go find Freddy and Gregory and Vanessa. But sorry, back to the point. I got very sidetracked there, but back to the point. I personally think that the Mimic being the one talking at the end makes just a little bit more. They're both whichever one of them is talking, it's real confusing. I just feel like the Mimic talking in the elevator over the loudspeaker, now that it's got access to the systems, would make more sense, but again, the source code where that line is said is like listed as being said by Gregory, I can't deny that would disprove my theory. It definitely could if it is true, and whether or not it's confirmed by Steel, well, I guess it will depend. I guess we'll, like, see which way that goes. But, like, just considering Gregory's attitude at the end of the game towards, like, what is going on, like, it would feel weird for it to be Gregory, because he contacts her finally, and he's yelling, "Get out of there!" Only to do, like, a complete 180 and just drop the elevator, despite the fact that the mimic is not in it, is also actually slightly damaged. Like, for him to just do a complete 180 like that and go, "Well, actually, I don't think I can let you out," because it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. It just doesn't quite add up. He seemed too concerned for Cassie's safety to then decide that we're too dangerous to be left alive. And I have seen, like, a theory where Gregory doesn't know if Cassie is actually Cassie at that point, and maybe it's just the mimic. But if he suspects it's the mimic, he also gives a lot of information about how the Mixer security program, which, like, he explains a lot of things and, like, apologizes and then drops the elevator. But I guess that could just be him, like, if that is Cassie and he's actually dooming Cassie, then he's just apologizing for that. But it just seems that seems a little convoluted to me. Anyway, Mixer and the security program, I don't think it was designed by Gregory and Vanessa, though the Vanny mask is the way you disable them, which maybe that was, like, how they set it up in the first place, which also does indicate that it was Vanessa, because, like, the Princess Quest ending shows her taking off the mask, which doesn't actually look like it is attached to the rest of the suit that Vanny wore, which was what I thought that it was previously, because it looked really smooth for it to be a mask and then, like, a thing. It looked like it was a whole suit attached to it that you put on. But that doesn't look like it was the case, which is what I thought previously, so that whole point about it not being Gregory and Vanessa who made that could be invalid, but it seems weird for it to be Vanessa who made that security program, because, like, it seems weird that she would make it look like rabbit themed if all of it is rabbit themed. That just seems very strange, considering that at that point she was no longer under the influence of the glitch trap virus, or possibly just a version of the mimic which was mimicking glitch trap at that time. So I don't know, that seems a bit weird. Also, it seems very sentient for a program, although when I thought of that point, like, I immediately thought of, like, oh wait, but this is literally an entire game where all the animatronics are sentient and hunting you down, like, in Security Breach and Ruin, like, they're all sentient. So I don't know, it just seems a little, it feels very intentional that they made it look like a glitch trap or a glitch rabbit, or like a thing that I like to call him, like, he's cyber hair, like, you know, like cyber hair, but I'm gonna call him Mixer myself. But it seems strange that it just seems weird to have been designed by her, like, after presumably being traumatized by all the things that she'd done as Vanny. It seems weird to design it to be like that. Quick side note, though, that I'm adding an after the fact here, actually, after I wrote the script and I added this in. There's a line when Gregory manages to contact you, which could be interpreted as him and Vanessa not being the ones who trapped the mimic, which is where he says something's trying to trick you, which sounds to me more like he knows that she's being tricked, but he doesn't know what it is, which sounds like he has not personally experienced the mimicking yet, which I think some people thought, which, you know, kind of plays into my theory of them not being the ones who trapped it, but honestly, it could also, like, be nothing. Anyway, theory number 3, the Bonte conundrum. Yes, I did just combine Bonnie and Monty's names there, because it was easier than saying the Bonnie-Monty conundrum, because that's too much of a mouthful. Okay, so I think at least most of you will have seen the little Easter egg where you can deactivate all the caution bots scattered around the map, which, if you deactivate them all with the AR mask, will unlock a hidden section behind the bowling alley in Bonnie Bowl, in which lies the broken remains of my favourite animatronic in the game franchise, Glamrock Bonnie. May his electronic soul rest in peace. I don't specifically mean that Glamrock Bonnie is my favourite, just Bonnie in general. He's, like, to me, the coolest one. But if you haven't seen it, I did make a video where I found it without using hacks, which some other YouTubers were forced to do, because it is bugged, at least as of me writing this script, and recording, in fact. But it was incredibly satisfying to get a proper confirmation of what happened to him, because in Security Breach it felt like he was meant to play a way larger part in the story than he ended up playing, because it sounded like he was destroyed for a significant reason, or like he went missing for a significant reason, which a lot of people thought was because he was going to be used to make Burn Trap, but now that we know that that's not the canon ending, it left me with a question: why was he destroyed? And what is the connection between him and the caution bots, and how did he even get behind Bonnie Bowl as well? How did he even get into that secret room? Why is it only accessible with the mask and deactivating the caution bots in the mask? I don't know the answers to most of these questions. I don't even have an idea for the answers for most of these questions. But I will attempt to, like, to do the one about the location, but for the bots, the mask, why he was destroyed, I'm not too sure. I mean, the destroyed kind of plays into the location, but I'll just get to that. I'll just get straight to it, actually. Quick thing I wanted to mention though, I was watching someone else's theory on Glamrock Bonnie. I can't remember whose it was. I might have to go back and check and then edit it into the video, but if I can't, then you will never know. But hey, quickly, it was actually Dorko again. But someone, but yeah, he mentioned that like him being in the DLC and like getting a little more attention than he did in Security Breach might mean that he's gonna like make a return at some point. Maybe we can fix him in a future game, and he's like then one of our friends as well, which really would be cool. I'd love that, because based on how Freddy talks about him, Bonnie seems just as cool and nice as Freddy, and you don't get many eggs as good as Freddy was in Security Breach. He was a good lad. But let's get back to the theory. So it seems to have pretty much been confirmed at this point that it was 100% Monty who destroyed Bonnie. The great big hole in his chest with like the green paint residue points to Monty quite heavily, because remind me, are there any animatronics in this franchise who have a bit of green in them? Perhaps some notable greenness to them? Oh wait, yeah, no, that's that's everyone's favorite alligator bot, or crocodile, depends on who you think it is. No, it's Monty Gator, it's an alligator. Never mind, forget I said that. But I'm more interested in how he got there, because after some more observation of the room he's in, it's a, you know, the secret room behind the bowling alley is the place that he was broken in, which is suggested by the fact that there's a broken bowling ball next to him, which is quite concerning, because it looks like Monty would have used a bowling ball to smash his head in. And there's also a great big dent crack in the wall, which looks like he was, like, forcibly pushed really hard into it. And, you know, very, very, very violent. Which is strange, because in Security Breach, we find a note that tells us the movement of Bonnie that night, he presumably disappeared, where he was last seen by the cameras walking into Monty Golf, but we don't see him go back to Bonnie Bowl. This could just be like Steelball like going in a new direction with the story, and they have to change a few things as a result, but it could also have been the original tension. I'm not sure it is though. I feel like this might just be that they wanted to change things, but it seems very deliberate, because it's really odd that he manages to sneak back without being seen by the cameras. Also, I feel like the only reason that he would have gone to Monty Golf would be to talk to Monty about something and then potentially invited him back to the secret room behind the bowling alley. Or maybe Monty led him there and then destroyed him. But, like, why did he destroy Bonnie? I think, the original theory was that he was used to make... his endoskeleton was needed to make Burn Trap, but we know that's not the canon ending, so... the only other option I can really see at the moment is that Monty was just incredibly jealous and wanted to be part of the band, so he took Bonnie out of the picture. But that feels like a really petty reason to destroy another animatronic, and it implies that whatever caused the animatronics to behave erratically, presumably that would be Vanny, to get them to hunt down Gregory, it happened long enough ago for Fazbear to completely replace Bonnie, which I guess doesn't seem that far-fetched. I don't believe that the personalities that we see are their actual personalities. I feel like they were, like, changed, which I think is fairly obvious. I think Roxy kind of proves that, because she's sort of the hero at the end of the game who saves Cassie. Because, like, at that point she just seems to be upset at Gregory for taking her eyes and just wants them back, and hopefully she gets them back, because that'd be quite nice. And I hope that, like, they meet up with Gregory, Freddy, Vanessa, and then they fix both Freddy and Roxy, because that'd be nice. But it's just, it seems very weird that Monty would go out of his way to destroy Bonnie just to be a part of the band, for literally no other reason. I feel like there's more context behind that I don't have yet, and I hope that I can find it, because the only reason that, like, people could think of was that, again, like, he was needed, his parts were needed to rebuild old Peepaw Willie down in the basement. But he's not there. He's dead. He's very dead at this point. He's so dead. He's destroyed. There's none of him left. He don't exist no more. Like, Monty destroying Bonnie just to be a part of the band, and, like, that being the thing for why he was destroyed, that feels very not satisfying from a story standpoint. That doesn't feel like it should. That doesn't feel like it would be the real reason, if you can understand what I mean. Anyway, that is just about everything I wanted to talk about. This video ended up being recorded a lot longer than I thought it would. I did kind of go a little bit off script, but that was because there were a bunch of other things that I wanted to talk about that I didn't quite include in the script, because at the time I didn't think of it. I definitely went into my ideas in a lot better detail this time, and with some actual evidence from the game to back myself up. But I would like to thank you if you made it this far through the video, if you actually watched it the whole way through. If you did, leave a comment saying FNAPP, one word, all caps, which you guys will know, and I'll know, will stand for Five Nights at Pan Pans, so that I can, heart your comment and show my appreciation for you sticking around this long. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing if I could talk properly. I may end up cutting the things that I just rambled about out, but I don't know, because it helps my channel to grow, and I would greatly appreciate it if you did. I also have a Discord, which I'll be linking in the description, so feel free to join that if you would like. And thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye.